Hey up, Knots Gamer here. Welcome back to the Knots Bench. This can mean only one thing. I'm going to be tinkering this time. We're going to be opening up the Knots PC again and sticking inside a cooling system in order to keep it a little more chill during those extended VR sessions, because it's getting quite warm, the machine is as well. And while I've got it open, I thought I'd give it all a nice quick spruce around and get it all put in there properly, and get it wired in correctly. So I bought some nice pretty coloured wires to stick in there as well, courtesy of our friends at Amazon. So we have some blue extension cables for the wires, just to make it look a little more uniform, and not like that power supply I've got. The idea is to get all the cables hidden properly. I'm having a little trouble with the machine getting quite hot at the minute, but that's predominantly because my graphics card fires its exhaust out the side, which is stupid, and I've got no vent on the side of the case, so I quite often have to take that off. But GPU is the last thing that's going in there, and it's an old one I'm using at the minute. So for the moment, we're focusing on keeping the CPU cool. So let's get the computer open and whip out a few components, have a tinker around, and see if we can't get this all back together in one piece. So the first thing we need to do is remove all the panels from the machine. Pop it away. In fact, what we'll do is I'll get them unplugged and we'll just lay it flat first. So I'm going to be using a nice plug for the GPU as well. We'll just pop those out of the way. So none of the cables are there to interfere with what we're trying to do. But what we need to do now is remove the CPU cooler there and mount the AIO to the top. Then we'll paste that they'd use there. We just need to get the excess cleaned off there, because the back of this is already thermal pasted. We've got the heatsink removed from there. I'm assuming the one that comes with the kit will fit nicely to there, as I did read in there about adding mounts to your motherboard, but this looks like it's already got them in, so that shouldn't be an issue. So tiny problem, I've had to put the fan back in, as the kit comes with a mount to connect you to a standard socket AM4. Mine didn't come with a standard AM4 mounting, so I've had to order one of those. So that's going to put off putting the cooler on a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is just tidy all the wiring up, get these new extenders put in to make it look nice through there, and just get everything ready. I'm going to stick an extra hard drive in, tucking out an old laptop that I no longer use. But it's a 256 gig, so it'll be good for a separate drive, just to keep my Steam stuff on, or Oculus or whatever. Extra storage is always good. I need another one of these.
Look at it, I have another one of these.
Voila, another hard drive is born. So we now have 4 hard drives in here. This isn't doing too bad so far. I've got to find a way of just hiding these wires, but now I've removed one of the hard drives from in there. Hiding the wires should no longer be much of an issue. I need to have a redundant plug flapping around inside.
Bink. Zip ties. You keep them on the floor. It's the best place for them. On the floor. Zip ties. Always accessible if they're on the floor.
And that's going to plug into my GPU, which will probably pops out from under there somewhere. But we'll just plug that into the GPU before we hide the cable anyway. Nice and secure. There we go.
Available with the zip ties, man.
Well, there we go. I've got the wiring how I like it. It took me a lot longer than I wanted to be perfectly honest. I kept putting them in, taking them out. etc. But in the meantime, the rest of the parts I need to fit the cooler have turned up, so we're going to fit the cooler. I'm going to just go in, grab hold of this and get it sorted, because it looks like quite difficult for me, to be fair. So for a second time now, I'm going to remove the fan for the CPU. Now I pasted this up again after I'd removed it last time. So what I need to do this time is remove the front. Now when I take this off, what I've got, I didn't have, the Corsair motherboard, is the standard connector. Now my cooler will hook onto the connectors either side of there, but as it stands at the minute, I've just got a flat plate on the back that goes with this particular cooler that was used. There we go. So there's only a little bit of paste on there. You see, I only used a tiny piece. Probably didn't get liberal coverage in there, but it was minimal. I mean, the stuff I saw yesterday, man, it was all down the edges of the CPU. It was horrendous. Man, they put a lot on this. I've not built a computer in a very long time, and even I know you're not supposed to get it around the edges of the CPU. Just totally overkill, man. It was horrendous, and I just realised I've dropped that plate down the back. That's the plate that's already there. That's a money maker, ladies and gents. That is what I need to mount on the back in order to get this to work. So now, having retrofitted this, the bits I need to clean the CPU down now and get all that thermal paste off that I put on the other day. When all else fails, raid your missus's makeup supplies and you'll find something to clean anything with. These nice little sponges here. Let me lay the patient flat for this particular manoeuvre. See if I can't get that off there. So now that's all nice and clean, I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee, open the cooler, read the instructions, familiarise myself with what I've got to do, and get on with it. So to you guys, it'll only be a few seconds, but to me, probably several hours while I work out how to do this. So let's get a shift on. First things first, let's get the fans mounted to the cooler. I'm going to have them as an exhaust. The intake's already got 3 fans at the front, I've got 1 exhaust at the back, and I see putting 2 more on the top of the exhaust will pull a good airflow through the system. The air hitting this will be slightly warmer than it will be having it on the front, but it's minimal, so I don't see there being much performance difference at all with that one. Yeah, these kits do come with some assembly. It's not all together out the box. I'm assuming they leave that up to you because everybody's system is a different configuration. Everybody will need to install it differently, so I guess. I believe it, I didn't have a problem with any screws. I had a problem yesterday when I whipped my fan off the CPU and realised I didn't have the correct mount on my motherboard. But now that's been resolved, nothing can stop me. Okay, now we need to bring the computer back. There we go, that doesn't look too bad, does it? There's not much glare off the light. You can just see Kevin's head as he's being nosy. Go away, Kevin, this is nothing to do with you, mate. This is my VR, remember, you're too small for that, dude. So we'll leave that. We'll just sit that in the case there for a moment. So I'm going to have to remove this fan in order to get it in. Just dropping that slightly should let me get that in. We are stuck on everything. We hope and pray this will fit in my dainty little computer case. Dilemma is where it hits the top of the case. You can see the radiator goes in lovely. Where it goes to the back of the case, look, it just hits the heatsink on the board. This is indeed a bit of a pickle. Okay, looking at this realistically, the only place I can put this thing is going to be at the front of the machine. I've got plenty of room there to accommodate that, and I can put the fans on this side, so it should fit a lot better. And then just put 2 of these case fans in the top up here, which should hopefully get it all in. So we'll see. Let's get some of these fans off and see if we can get the AIO to fit that way. So what I'll be careful to do is not to mount the pump head any higher than the top of the radiator, because if there's any air in there, I don't want it getting into the pump. So I just quickly want to stop what I was doing there, as what I did was something wrong when you're putting one of these in. I didn't realise till after the fact, so I'm now cutting this in instead. Is I ended up having to install the radiator at the front of the computer because it didn't fit at the top, because it interfered with the heat spreader and this capacitor there. Once I got the fan on, it just cleared the plug socket, which was alright, but not good enough. So what I had to do was put the radiator at the front, which I've ended up doing there, and it's all in that way. But what I did to start with was put it in the opposite way up, so the tubes were above the pump coming down, but if I ended up with any air in the chamber at the top, eventually it would have worked its way into there, and it would have just decreased the efficiency of this. As it's the first time I'm doing it, I had to learn this. I had to learn the hard way, and I'm just going to put this in there to make sure anyone else doing it for the first time doesn't make this mistake. But make sure to look into where you're going to put your cooler first. This is a very tight case. I managed to cram it all in only just, but just be mindful of what you're putting in. I could have probably got away with a smaller cooler and just mounted it at the top there. But I went overkill, didn't I? Because, you know, why not? But it's been a fun little exercise doing this. I've enjoyed it. So let's get this all plugged in now, switch it on, and hope for about the millionth time of reassembling this thing that I've done it correctly. So I need to find somewhere to install the command board inside this now. And the one plug I need to power it, I think, is underneath all of this on the first harness, which shoved away. Save myself a little lead. Where's he gone? There he is. Just going to power that. This then in turn needs poking through the front and plugging into USB ports somewhere on the board. Give me the option of putting that there. Just need to find where the USB header is on there to plug this in. These are the wires for the fans. One says to hub and one says something else. So I'm guessing they're plugging either side of that. All this has left me thinking I probably need a slightly bigger case. I'm trying to cram a lot into a small case here. Right, now I've got that through. You can plug that into the command core. Okay, so now we've got that installed, so let's get it all plugged in and see what we've got. So here we are, all plugged in the dark for about the millionth time. Correct configuration this time round. Radiator in the right way up, wires in the right way, everything's hidden, there's plenty of room in the case. I finally feel like I've managed to get this to fit, so let's switch it on and find out. And we have life. There we go, it's all completed. Many hardships along the way due to stupidity or not researching it, but that's the nature of Nod's Gamer doing things. I just go at it like a bull in a china shop and worry about mistakes after I've made them. So learn from my mistakes, don't put your radiator in the wrong way round, make sure you've got the right connections for your heatsink, and make sure you know what you're doing. So I've been Nod's Gamer. This has been a further extension of the Nod's PC. Take care guys, thanks for watching, and see you next time.